Good morning, Algebra 2 students. So today, a little video on lesson 2.2 with a little bit of review from the previous information given to you. We have talked about what makes an equation linear. And if you remember, they could have one or two variables, all to the first power. No variables are multiplied together or divided by, and when graphed, it is a line. Now today, we're going to be talking about writing equations in what we call standard form. And all linear equations can be written in standard form, which is ax plus by equals c in this form. To be in standard form, a, b, and c must be integers. Remember that integers are numbers like -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and so on. So it cannot be a fraction, a decimal. It can be negative, it can be 0. The a value must be positive. We must have a positive a value for it to be in standard form. And then they all must have a greatest common factor of 1, which means if you've got something like 3x plus 6y is equal to 9, technically this would not be in standard form because the numbers 3, 6, and 9 all have a greatest common factor of 3. So what I would do is I would divide everything by 3, and I would have x plus 2y is equal to 3. And that would be standard form. The a value would be 1, the b value would be 2, and the c value would be 3. So to write equations in standard form, and these are some examples that you will see in your packet, obviously, we need to get the x and the y term on the left side of the equation. So in this one here, I'm going to subtract 4y from both sides. So I would have 2x minus 4y is equal to a -1. And that is standard form. My a value is 2, my b value is -4, and my c value is -1. And my a is positive, and there is a greatest common factor of 1 amongst those. So this would be in standard form there. This next one here, I could subtract 2x. So now I've got -2x plus 5y is equal to 3. I'm getting close, but my a value is negative. So in this case, I would multiply everything by a -1, which basically just changes the sign of each term. And now that would be in standard form. My a value would be 2, my b value would be -5, and my c value would be -3. Next one here, I'm going to subtract 24x. Giving me a -24x plus 18y is equal to a -9. It needs to be positive, so I could run a negative through the entire thing. That changes the sign on every term on both sides of the equal sign. And then realize 24, 18, 9, they all have a common factor of 3. So if I take a 3 out of each one, divide every term by 3, I'd have 8x minus 6y is equal to 3, and that is standard form. The next example here is one that has a fraction in it. So we cannot have fractions. So what I would do right away is get rid of those fractions by multiplying the entire equation through by the common denominator, which in this case would be 12. And then when I do this, 12 times 3/4, you could go top, top, bottom, bottom. That would be 36 over 4. You could do some cross canceling there. This is going to give you 9y. Same thing here, either top, top, bottom, bottom, or cross cancel. You can end up with 8x. And then plus 60. Then it's just a matter of, let's get that x on the left-hand side with the y. And let's make sure that a is positive, so we're in a negative through. And that is standard form. Next one here is an example of a decimal. We've got one decimal place here. So to get rid of that, I'm going to multiply this entire equation by 10. One decimal place by 10. If I had two decimal places, I'd multiply by 100 because that will just move the decimal one place. So I'd have 4x plus 30y is 100. And then I can take a 2 out of all of this, and I end up with this equation in standard form. Next question is, or the next kind of standard here is the graph linear equations in standard form. This is typically kind of new for sophomores because you usually work with slope-intercept form, the y equals mx plus b. But to graph something in standard form, it's actually much easier than you would think. We are basically going to find the intercepts. So we're going to find the x and the y-intercept. To do that, to find the y-intercept, you're going to put 0 in for x. Putting 0 in for x will basically just get rid of the x term. So we could cover up this 2x, which obviously you can't see me doing this. We'd end up with 7y is 14, and so y would be 2. To find the x-intercept, I'd put 0 in for the y. I would cover up the 7y, and I would get x to be 7. So then to graph this, you're going to go 7 on the x, a positive 2 on the y, and connect those and draw your line. Next example here, this is not in standard form. To put this in standard form, I would need to switch these around and make the x positive. And then doing the same thing. To find the y-intercept, I'm going to put 0 in for x, covering up the x. I'm going to get y to be 2. If I put 0 in for y, cover up the y, I would get x to be a negative 10. And then I'm going to go to negative 10 on my x-axis, positive 2 on the y, and draw my line through those 2 points. Next example has a decimal, has one decimal place, so I'm going to multiply this whole thing by 10. That's going to give me 25x minus 50y plus 75 is equal to 0. I'm going to move that 75 over to the other side, making a negative 75. I could take 25 out of everything. Oops, need a y there. And now I'm in standard form. Finding my y-intercept, putting 0 in for x, and solving that, I get my y-intercept to be 3/2. Putting 0 in for y, I get my x-intercept to be negative 3. This graph, I go to negative 3 on the x, 3/2 on the y, which is going to be between 1 and 2, and I would draw my line. So I hope this helps you with standard form. You should complete the 2-1 and 2-2 assignments today in class and submit those, as well as doing your corrections on any of the test items you might have got wrong. Have a wonderful Wednesday.